Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of Behind the Loo. I am joined with Sean and Adam, and today we have less technical difficulties because now I have my webcam, I have my mic, and Adam now has his camera working. So hopefully this episode goes a little more smoother than last one with the production wise of it. But today we wanted to talk more about the Blues since we didn't really get to talk about them much in the first episode because there was just a lot of Cardinal news last time. So today, we're just going to kind of recap where the Blues are through the first half of the season and where they go and what are they doing, because it's been painful to watch. And so I'm going to let Sean take over from here, talking about the whole recap of everything. So I'll have Sean take over here.
That is the biggest question with the Blues is what are we doing? Because you can go on a couple games winning and you're like, sweet, we're going to, make playoffs and we can probably make some noise because, with NHL, if you make the playoffs, you have a chance. Like it can go any which way. Best example being Columbus against Tampa Bay in 2019. Tampa Bay wins the President's Trophy, has all these records, and it was destined to destroy Columbus, and Columbus sweeps them. So anything can happen once you make playoffs. But to really start off, we'll go back to the to the start of the season, so that way we have all the information. So to start the season off, the biggest news that we had was the fact that we re-signed Nick Leddy over David Perron. We traded Billy Husso to Detroit to get a third-round pick, and in order to extend, even acquire Leddy, we had to trade our depth in Oscar Sundqvist and Jake Wallman, and it could kind of hammer home the fact of just the amount of defensive turnover we had in 2021. I think that's whenever we had the Seattle expansion draft where they took Vince Dunn, who's kind of become their second D-man person and kind of the face of their defensive core. And then before the season started, we traded another prospect, or I guess project player that we had in Klim Kostin for a defenseman. It was another Russian defenseman, and they actually knew each other, which was funny. And there's the story behind it of the defenseman that we got. I think his name is Samorukov. He calls Kostin. He's like, dude, I'm on my way to St. Louis. And Kostin's like, I'm on my way to Edmonton. Wait, we just got traded for each other. So, there was a lot of question marks going forward with it, and the fact that you're losing a veteran in David Perron, who really was, the main line last year was Brandon Saad, Ryan O'Reilly in the middle, and David Perron, and they could get stuff done. That was considered your first line. But I understood why we didn't really resign him. Perron is I think he was 33 going into free agency last year, and he was looking for a long-term deal. And those kind of deals after you turn 32 are really hard because you don't want to overpay someone too much money in case their points drop off. And Doug Armstrong was kind of correct with that. Perron, I think, is at like 25 30 points or something like that for the season in Detroit, but he's doing good there. And with that also being said, Detroit kind of did a smart thing with taking advantage of the Blues and the fact that the salary cap that we have, because we have a hard salary cap in the NHL. It's only like $84 million that you're allowed to spend throughout the whole roster, which I think is ridiculously low. Like you compare that,
like that is low compared to all even baseball and
baseball salaries compared to like hockey, it's actually disgusting. Because with the salary cap the way it is, like the NHL players get really underpaid, in my opinion, just based off like sports in general. So
just to kind of carry on with that, like, what, Brennan, could you explain to me, like, you had, like, let's say we go to the MLB draft and I draft a player, how long or how old is he until he's actually like in the MLB for the team?
It can sometimes take a long time, especially if they're from high school, unless they're like a generational talent. Like you have a Jordan Walker right now who was drafted in 2020 out of high school. He made the team. He's going to probably make the team this year. But he hasn't played above AAA, and he's considered one of the top prospects in the game. So when you just look at most first rounders, I would say like about 3 to 4 years, like on average, I would say. But if you're looking towards like second and third and fourth rounds, I mean, there's times where you don't even see these people. They don't even
Right.
make the double A. They don't make the top 30 prospects just because an injury happens. A trade happens to where they don't really they don't need that guy to be in the major league club anymore. And it's just, it's kind of hard because there's so many different levels of MLB to where a lot of these players don't get a shot to even go. They might get drafted, but they might not go all the way to the MLB. It's nowhere near a guarantee. And that's the one thing that makes the MLB draft probably more exciting, is just because you don't really have these players that you can look forward to for a long time. Like if you're just a casual fan, I mean, you're not going to really care until they start producing. So
that's what I like about the NFL too. It's like that's where it kind of like separates itself during the draft, because everybody who is like, even if you're a casual fan, most people of that fan base watch college and the NFL. Right. And that's a whole argument to itself. But if you're getting drafted in the first 32 picks of the NFL draft, you're going to see playing time no matter what. Because you have that 5-year contract, or 5-year with the 5th-year option. You're going to get playing time. And if you're getting drafted in the first round, that means they expect that you're like the highest version of that talent that they could possibly pick at the time.
Yeah, I get you. And the point I was going to make with it is, Brendan, do you know the money that MLB players make from the point that they're drafted into the actual show, or no?
It depends. Because there's some, I'm gonna look it up. Because Jackson Holiday was the last one. He was so he was the number 1 pick overall last year. His signing bonus was $8.19 million. That was a signing bonus. Because he was committed. But I can't remember what school he was committed to, but it was a record deal. And it was, that was the deal though.
Just
$8.19 million.
Yeah, just to put that in comparison, Connor McDavid, who was drafted in 2015, is the best NHL player in the league right now. No matter what, his entry deal was 3 years at $925,000.
Yeah,
that's the comparison of the wage gap between these major sports, which is just crazy to me.
And it's not like it's NHL. It's like a dead sport. You watch these NHL games; they're packed.
And just there's another comparison to see how big that Jackson Holiday deal was. Jordan Walker, when he was drafted in 2020, he was the number 21 pick. His signing bonus was $2.9 million.
That's what I don't understand that, because I always, when I first started getting into sports, actually digging into player contracts and all the moves, the NHL was always why are these guys getting paid so low? Because obviously, just Pittsburgh and St. Louis, for example, even though they don't have a football team anymore, there was the gauntlet of sports. We had at one point football, baseball, hockey. Even when there was a Pirates game or there was a Steelers game, they usually didn't align, but people would still go to those games, especially when the Rams were in St. Louis. People would still go to the Blues games, and at the same time go to the Cardinals games, and the hockey games were still always packed. And it's not a dead sport, so I don't understand why they can't get paid more.
I think hockey's at one of the highest points of its for a while, just because with the new deals that they have with ESPN, it's just more accessible than it has been.
Yeah, it really is. I was happy I was able to find last night's game just on any sports, and I could just sign into whatever and get into it.
Yeah.
But to continue on with just everything on just the Blues in general for this season, kind of build up the storylines. So you get past free agency, you sign Letty over Perron, and that kind of pissed everybody off, because they're like, what are you doing? Perron was on the 2019 team. Come on. He's the best. But I'm like, his production would have, if he stays with O'Reilly, yes, he would have done well, but I wasn't going to pay Perron $4.5 million or $5 million for the next 3 to 4 years. I just couldn't do that, especially when you needed defensive help. And here's why you needed defensive help. You go into this season and you hear Marco Scandella is injured. Scott Perunovich gets injured in a preseason game. So you're already down 2D, man. Imagining this defensive core without Letty, it would be in shambles. That's whenever your season would have been completely done. And just to continue on and talk about the start of the season, you go 3 games in and you're 3-0, you get shaky after the Seattle game because you don't expect Seattle to be as good, which they surprised everyone this year by just racking up wins against everybody. And you win your 3 games to start the season, and then you lose 8 straight. I think like 8 or 9 straight after then. And the injuries continue to pile up as you're losing. And then you have that game against San Jose, which I saw the back end of it, which you barely skate away from. Like, it was like 4-3 in the final minutes, and they were hammering you in it. They have net pulled and everything, and you score. And this game was at home, and it was funny and amazing to see the crowd like reacting to the fact like, holy shit, we won a game.
It was
Like,
crazy.
if you look at that video, you would think that it was like a playoff game for how much everyone was celebrating. Like,
And then they won like 7 in a row. Was it 7 or 8?
it was 7. I think, yeah. It was, so they lost 8 games, then they lose 8 games, then win 7 in a row. And this was a great winning streak. I mean, because it started off with that San Jose win, so they kind of get a moment to breathe, realize, hey, we're not that bad of a team. They go to Vegas, they win 3-2. They go to Colorado, they win 3-2. And then they, punch the Blackhawks in their town and win 5-2. I went to the game against the Capitals where it was like 5-1 and at like in the third period. And I remember looking at like the people I went with, like Kelly, my friend Alex, and his wife Nicole, and I said, hey, we ready to go? Like, there's 10 minutes left. We can beat the traffic. I think this game's pretty much locked in. And then they tied it like right away, and I just went, this is what I get for saying we should leave early. Dude, I was like, yeah, I was happy we won, but mad about it all in general. But after that winning streak, losing streak, it's been 500 hockey all the way through up until now, which is just 500. Like, a 500 winning percentage in like most sports is pretty okay. Like in the NFL, if you have a 500 season, like you miss playoffs, but if you're a rebuilding team or you're trying to get better, you're like, hey, there's some progress. If you're in baseball, you can make playoffs with about like 5.510, right, Brennan? Or am I wrong with that?
I mean, it's kind of hard. It can be hard. National League, you won't be able to. American League, you might. It just depends on how the rest of the teams, like the Central, like AL Central, for example, that was last year was terrible. That division was the worst in the league. So you pretty much have to have like, I don't think 500 really is acceptable. But if you're, like you said, if you're in a rebuild, then it's like, okay, we have something here. Let's go into the next off season and try to add on to this, add more wins. So, right. I don't think 500 really makes you playoffs at all.
Nah. In the NFL, it's kind of like that. I mean, Buccaneers made the playoffs when they were 8-9, and a lot, the Seahawks made it just above 500. So it just depends how everybody else in your division does. I mean, it's not unheard of. There's usually a team that's 500 or just below or above 500 in the playoffs.
And I guess this year would be the exception with it because there's a lot of Western teams that are just not playing well. Like Calgary was the darling of the offseason because they had like the craziest moves where they lost like 2 of their star players and then got 2 different star players to come in and play for them to try and fill in that blank. But, continuing on, it's just like I purely think the reason we're doing 500 hockey is because of the coaching staff too. You lose Jim Montgomery, who went to Boston, and now Boston's like 372 and 5 losses. Like they're on pace to break NHL records. Like I think the record is like right now that they're on is 36-5-4. So they've only lost in regulation like 5 times this season. Which
so you're talking about the Bruins?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bruins are nuts this year.
They are. Let me look at their record. 36-5-4. That's wild.
And to think about like everyone that they have on that team is just they're the example of a good team. And I guess like, to use the Bruins as the example, we just played them in 2019 for the Cup. Mm-hmm. And to see them have this continued success and see us kind of slowly going down after, you lose Pietrangelo after 2020 to free agency, and you're seeing everybody walk out the door after that Cup
and
run.
Just aging too, with like O'Reilly and
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 Tarasenko too. I think they're the
that
same age.
that brings back. We kind of had this conversation a little bit last week. Like we were talking about how like the Tampa Bay Lightning has always been good, and I feel it's the same way as the Bruins too. I just feel like they've always been a staple piece to that, like at least to be like a solid team in the NHL.
Right. Like, and the good thing about Tampa Bay is that they have, you know, great players who understand the importance of what they're doing and what they want to achieve. Like they know they want to achieve greatness because, you know, Andre Vasilevsky, he makes $9.5 million for the next 6 years, and he's like one of the best goalies in the NHL. Compare that to like Florida, who has Sergei Bobrovsky. He makes 10 million. Like all these other goalies make like outrageous amount of monies, but he actually like was able to take a pay cut a little bit for what I think he's worth. You know, their MVP of the playoffs in the second cup run that they just did recently, Victor Hedman, he makes 7.875. He makes less than what Alex Pietrangelo signed for. And Hedman's a way better defenseman. Like they understand like if you take the pay cut, you're helping build the team around you and all that. And that's like such an honorable thing in my mind to do as a team. And, you know, going back to it and talking about like contracts and stuff, you look at the Blues, and at the beginning of the year, you understand why everyone was so pissed off at like, you know, Thomas and Kyrie, because they're like, they just signed these big deals for 8.125. They should be doing better. And it's like, guys, you can't look at this and be the main issue and think that this wasn't it. The defensive core, not even talking about the D-man in the back end, the forwards, the defensive minus of the forwards is non-existent this year. O'Reilly doesn't have it, and he's not winning as many face-offs as he should. Like, no one expected you lose Perron, you lose O'Reilly's skill. No, like you knew it could be impactful, but you didn't think it was going to be that bad. Not only that, but you look at like, and if you do want to look at the defensive core, you look at Torrey Krug and Colton Parayko. Colton Parayko is like the new whipping boy. For the longest time, I thought it was going to be Marco Scandella, but no, it turns out to be Colton Parayko. And the only reason why Krug is so good is because he has the, you know, the power play. He quarterbacks the power play. He can stay on that blue line and go back and forth and make sure that he gets the puck to O'Reilly or Tarasenko, Kyrou, Thomas. It's just, but this the defensive mindset, I think just went out the door with Jim Montgomery too for the forward core, because you signed Craig McTavish as your new like assistant coach, and he hasn't really done much with the group in my mind. Like all the numbers have gone down, but it just could be because Jim Montgomery was such a good coach like that. But another thing that went with it is like Brandon Saad is invisible with it. You know, he's come up recently with like a lot more goals and has been pretty nice with the absence of O'Reilly and Tarasenko. But no, it's just like all around forward core has been disappointing. And then another thing that's really destroyed the Blues, and I kind of hinted on this last episode, was just injuries altogether. I wrote down, and luckily we're coming near the end of this injury drought, or I shouldn't say drought, but like floodgate that's been opened with it all. But just to go down the list, Tarasenko, end of January, start of February. I think he was supposed to start this last game, which was the one against the Blackhawks, but he opted out because he wanted to make sure that he was healthy. Totally getting respect. Ryan O'Reilly was like mid to end of February. He's still wearing a boot because I think the report was that he broke his foot while playing. Scott Perunovich, he broke his arm beginning of the season, like I said, in the exhibition game.
My God. And that sucks because like for any sport like that to go through, you know, having so many injuries, it's like nearly impossible to just get any momentum.
Yeah, and
That's
Scott
like how you
Perunovich,
said
yeah.
you're battling for 500 right now, which you guys are well above right now.
Yeah. And like the thing is that also like sucks with it is like Perunovich was supposed to be like another great defenseman like Krug to come in. Like I still have hope on Scott Perunovich to pick up his game because he won the NCAA Hobie Baker Award, which is a big deal in the hockey world because there are a lot of great players that have won it, like Johnny Gaudreau, I think. He won the Hobie Baker Award. You have recently Cale Makar with Colorado, and that dude is like our age, and he's won a Stanley Cup, MVP, Norris Trophy for Best Defenseman, Hobie Baker Award. He's just a great guy, and he's making like more money than we'll ever see. But even just to continue on, like Adam, that was only like 3 people. I have more here. Like,
my God.
You have Torrey Krug. He's not going to be back until the start of February, probably, but he is skating now, so maybe sooner than later. You have Robert Bortuzzo, start of February, maybe end of January. You have Logan Brown, he's coming back now, but was scratched before this last game, or healthy scratch. That way they made sure he was good. And then finally, Marco Scandella, who hopefully start or mid-February comes back, but you also have the All-Star game coming up, so that would give a lot of players time to rest up and whatnot. But out of all those injuries, they're just like, you can only do so much. You know? And this is another point that I'm going to make with it all after listening to everything and just kind of all the basic storylines that we have going on. And here's going to be the biggest question for a lot of Blues fans and anyone who listens, and even Brennan right here, is Binnington good, or is our defense really that bad? Like,
I don't know. I think he's not been good. Last night's game, I know it's just one game, but there's more. But the last night's game was terrible. I mean, how many shots? There was 2 shots out, like the first 2 goals.
In the first period, the Blues were destroying the Blackhawks shot-wise. The shots were 10-2. I think I'll have to let me double check to see what it ended with, because I can check to see the
It was like 14 to like 28 shots on goal.
Just in that first period, I can find that out real quick. And this was just absolutely pathetic of the Blues to do.
It was pathetic. I couldn't believe, like, I wasn't even watching the game at that, like, in the first period. I was out and I was driving and I had it on the radio and I was just listening. And I heard, like, it sounded like we were like radio hockey. So weird to me because it's hard for me to follow. But it sounded like we were putting shots on net. Everything sounded good for us. It sounded like we were going to have a pretty good game, and then we are down 2-0 after 2 shots.
Okay, you ready to hear this, Adam?
Yeah.
Shots on goal for the Blues in the first period were 11. They were just kicking them in. The Blackhawks had to play defensively. The Blackhawks only had 3 shots in total for that first period, and 2 out of the 3 shots went in. The first one was a 2-on-1 where they call it an interference play, where Parayko got interfered with by another player, where they bumped into each other in the middle of the ice. I call it incidental contact and just lack of awareness on Parayko to not see the guy coming in. Sure, one of them probably could have, it all happens fast. Someone could have stuck it out instinctively to slow down Parayko or whatever, but he couldn't get back, which created the 2-on-1. But Binnington overcommits to the guy who's going to pass it. He overcommitted to the right side, and it goes straight to his left, and backdoor feed it in and straight in. And then the second one, the Blues are on the power play. They're 5-on-4. A guy breaks through the blue line, comes up the right side, and scores 5-hole right between Binnington's legs right away. And that's the second shot. And what I loved was on the third shot that the Blues crowd there, who was amped up about it all, because it's a rivalry game. You want to fucking destroy the Blackhawks. Binnington makes the third save, and you just hear the whole crowd in the background just going, yeah, doing the fucking Bronx cheer with him. And the next period comes up. Blackhawks scored 2 goals again on him, and then he gets hooked out, and you put in Grice, which
I thought Grice did okay but it wasn't that much of a challenge for him, because it's just
this was a game where you should have this was a game where you probably should have started Thomas Grice over Binnington, but I think Binnington wanted to win so that way he could pass Grant Fuhr on all-time wins list, because he's just ranked.
What a game to try to do that.
Yeah, that would have been the perfect game to do it, but you fail.
No, and then you were I think another part that's not really talked about, just besides goaltending, was you're going against an AHL goaltender. It was his debut game.
It was his first game in the NHL, and he's just like, I'm here to win.
He did pretty good. I'm gonna give him credit. He actually did pretty good, but he had some good saves. But there's no excuse if you have Kyrou and Thomas going. Like, there's no excuse why you should not have won that game. It's unacceptable. And the way those goals scored, it should have been. I would give them the 1 goal on the 2-on-1, but that shorthanded goal should not have happened at all.
Yeah, it was just a.
When did they remove him from the game? Was that in second period when they became 4-0?
Yeah,
no,
and then
was it 4-0 or 3-0? I can't remember, but
it was 4-2 at the end of the second.
Yeah,
and I think they removed Binnington after the 4th goal, which by that point it was 4-1. So the Blues came back and scored 2 to make it competitive, 4-3 going in the midway point of the third period. But then Grice got beat. I kind of remember the goal vaguely, but
yeah, I remember. But I thought they were actually going to come back in that game. And if they would have won that game, I would have still not been happy with that performance at all. It was unacceptable that it even was that close to begin with. But they got it to 4-3, and you thought there could have been a chance, but then they just fell short. Like once they got that other goal, it was over.
And that now improves the Blackhawks record to 6-1 in their last however many games. I think 7 or so. But before then, they were like 1-11. It was like really bad for a stretch. So
you have to realize that you're gonna beat every bad team you play against. So like if we would have just lost to the Blackhawks, it wouldn't be as big of a deal as if like where you are in your season. You're down to the crunch time on making playoffs at this point. Like
there are only 20 to 18 games left until trade deadline.
Yeah, like, you need to win. You need to get as many points as you possibly can, or else you're going to be falling behind. Thankfully, the Central Division is not doing well either.
Garbage can, yeah.
So you have a chance. But realistically, Sean, what do you think if they even get into the playoffs? Like, let's say they do. They make a wild card spot, most likely the last wild card spot. What is their potential in playoffs? Because we've seen them do well. We've seen Binnington do well. It's just very inconsistent. That's like the storyline. Do you think they can do even a run? Or do you think it's even worth even trying?
You're too good to fail. That's the problem with it that I think a lot of people need to realize is this team is too good to fail, and they don't want to. Will they put the blame on injuries? Absolutely. And am I okay with it? I can understand it.
I'm not. I'm not okay with it. You knew what this core was going into the season. You could have made moves, and when they lost those 8 games in a row, I would have. That's when I thought the season was done. I thought they were just going to take the rest of the way, especially when you have Connor Bedard on the draft. Just like I don't know why they kept going, and it's like, I mean, I get it. You don't want to lose. That's not good for your brand. It's not good for the city. I get it, but. I mean, you're at a point where you have an aging core. You have Tarasenko and O'Reilly coming off the books next year. You're not going to bring back any of them, in my opinion. I don't think they should, especially O'Reilly. You should not bring him back.
Yeah, here's the problem with that, and I can go to the numbers with it because I have Cap Friendly pulled up with it too, is the fact that O'Reilly, he's made a lot of money as a forward. Like, he really has, because he's been that good defensively. But what's funny is the fact that, like, he's at $76 million in career earnings. I could see him really wanting to go to $100 million to be one of the few that has made it to that amount of money. I don't know his sentiment towards St. Louis. He could be like want to stay here, and if he does, I'll gladly sign him. But I'm going to sign you to, if you're lucky and you have a really good back half, I'll sign you for the Tyler Bozak deal of $5 million. For 3
he's
years.
not going to accept that. He's the captain. He wants to be paid, and. I mean, at this point, I think, honestly, looking, even though that last game was pretty bad, I think I like watching this team without O'Reilly playing more than I was liking seeing O'Reilly on the ice. Yeah. I don't know about you. I enjoy seeing guys like Jake Neighbors play. Like, I love seeing that and just having like the young guys play and just see what we have for the future. And it's just, I mean, you can still win games with this group. Are you going to be like cup contenders? Obviously no, but it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, if you don't allocate that money to O'Reilly and Tarasenko for next year,
you can make more moves.
You're given a lot more flexibility. But right now, I think it's a key point for the Blues to show that they're willing to pay players, kind of. Because if you have O'Reilly walk, that's your third captain walking away.
Well, I mean, this is the difference though. Alex Pietrangelo he just came off a cup. O'Reilly has
Your
been
playoff
underperforming.
MVP.
Yes, but he's been underperforming since then, especially this year. He's been underperforming, and you're at a point where are you better off just moving on and just moving on from 2019? Because we've talked about this with the Cardinals before too. They do not let go. They have to hold on to the past. That's why Adam Wainwright is on the roster.
I was about to say that.
So you look at everything, and it's like, when is it time to let go? Because the Blues are starting to get to this point where it's like, we love the 2019 Cup run. All these guys who are part of that team, we love them forever. They're going to be legends in St. Louis. But you look at where your team is now, you got to go back. You got to go back to you got to be contenders again. And
I know, but you also have to prove to players that you're willing to take care of them. I think that's a big
fine,
part too.
But you have to take care of the right player. Is O'Reilly the right player to take care of at this point in his career? Is he?
That's a really hard question, because no matter what, in my mind, I'd much rather want to take care of Tarasenko over O'Reilly.
Yeah, I would much rather take
hard
Tarasenko.
To find a winger sniper.
And the thing is, Tarasenko is the one guy that I would probably bring back over all of them. I would prefer not to bring back both of them, just because you have more space to do more and kind of change his team up and build around the guys that you have. But if you're going to bring anyone back, I would love to have Tarasenko back. He's been like an icon here for the 2010s of St. Louis.
And you have like the center depth good enough. Like Thomas is now your first line center. Schen's your second line center. Nola Chari, who is underratedly talked about a lot now, but should be like known as the most, like, he is the perfect replacement that we've had for Oscar Sundqvist. We thought Ivan Barbashev was going to do that, but Nola Chari has filled that void perfectly.
And you can tell what the team thinks about Achari too, just based off, like, if he gets a bad hit, if they don't like a hit that was put against him, they'll go and fight him. Look at Jake Neighbors. Yeah, he just did. And it's like, yeah,
that's the shit that they would do for Sundqvist too.
Yeah,
which is what I love.
They love this guy, and I think he's just underrated, just because if the team was doing better, I bet he'd be praised more. But you just don't. They're just not doing good. There's not much to really praise other than like the big names like Kyrou and Thomas, just because they're young. They're like the superstars of the team.
Yeah, and going forward, you now have a core of Thomas, Kyrou, Saad, Buchnevich, and Schenn. That's your forward core that's signed for the next 3 years.
That's not terrible. It's just like, I think you need more.
Yeah, and like defensively, again, everyone has dubbed Parayko the new whipping boy. Before Parayko, it was definitely Zach Sanford. And then before Zach Sanford, it was Patrick Berglund, who was another one of my favorite Blues players. But again, I think Bennington. Yeah, everyone talks that he's been doing good and that the numbers don't represent. I see that during the games. I really do, but the numbers are there for a reason, man.
But he's like, yeah, he's not like. But the thing is just like, you have like Jordan Bennington's just not what he used to be with that. Like in 2019, that was an insane run. But I mean, does he deserve a lot of hate? No, I don't think he does. I think he is good for the team. Like, he's a good guy to have, like, as your main goaltender. And I think he, in clutch moments, he can turn back the clock to 2019 and perform that way. We've seen him do it. But I mean, is he worth the money that he's making? That's the big question.
Well, in the best comparison with that, so go ahead, Emma. All right, Adam.
Amo. My thing is, it's like, I like how you brought out that they have trouble. Like, St. Louis just seems like they have a hard thing to let go of, like, key players, like, especially from 2019 Cup season. And looking at Bennington's stats, it's like, I think he deserves the thought to just go. You know what I mean? They're not like, I understand he had like probably an amazing season in 2019, but as it stands right now, it seems like he's been on a really, really bad downhill slope, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better.
But that's the thing. The numbers look that way, but when you watch him play, he does not look like he's doing that terrible. I don't get it. But I really don't. There's times where his numbers, like the times where he plays, like yesterday, that looked like what his numbers were. But when you look at like some games, like the one game against was it Winnipeg? It was like a couple weeks ago.
Let me see. Hang on.
He had like, I think there was like 40 shots on goal, and there was a shutout or something crazy. I think it was Winnipeg.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in Canada though. But they like he can perform to that level of 2019 and perform to his contract. It's not consistent, which is the entire storyline of this entire Blues team, is that they are inconsistent and you don't know what they're going to do because they're so hard to predict. It would not surprise me if they don't make playoffs, but it also would not surprise me if they do. It's to that level to where it's like you have no idea where they're going to go because they're all over the place. They could lose 3, they could win 5, then they lose 10, and then they win 7. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous to watch. It's painful to watch.
Having teams be inconsistent is so goddamn painful.
I'd much rather be terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you know,
so you know where your heart's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea whether they're like hope this team makes it or just tank. I don't know, but it's too late to tank.
Here's a good comparison too. Is Darcy Kemper, who won the Cup for Colorado, he signed with Washington for $5.25 million for the next 5 years, and he's 3 years older than Bennington. I mean, that kind of makes sense. So I guess that's the amount that gets you. That's the amount of money that gets you okay to good goalie. I don't like Darcy Kemper. But here's what also makes me mad is that we don't have a good backup goalie to compete with Bennington. I think that's what Bennington needs is that competition in backup. I would have much rather
because Husso had that last year.
Yeah, that was what's driving both of them is they both wanted to compete for that spot, and with that competition, you could like get more wins.
Look at what Bennington did last year in the playoffs. I mean, he was incredible. If he would have been healthy and that hit did not happen with Kadri in last year, I think we would have beat Colorado. In my opinion,
yeah, we would have gone.
I think we would have. I think we would have gone to the finals. I think we
would have gone to the finals, and we would have lost to Tampa Bay.
No, I think we could. I think we could have won.
At least he's real about
I think we could have won, but at least if we would have made it to the finals, I mean, that would have been great to have. If you have a team that just goes to the finals or anything, I'm happy with that because at least you know what you're doing. But
I brought it up the last 2 years is I would love to see us go to at least Western Conference Finals because then you have this window of 2016 to the last 2 years to where you get conference final, Stanley Cup conference final, and that solidifies that you were a good team for that period of time. You were one of the top 4 teams for this amount of stretch. But no, and like signing Grice was kind of dumb to me because I would have much rather kept Charlie Lindgren. He only makes like $1.1 million for the next 3 years, and I love Chucky Sideburns. Like,
where is he in the AHL or where is he?
He's in the NHL. He plays for the Washington Capitals. And
we traded him?
No, he just signed there as a free agent.
Oh, I thought I thought he was just in the AHL, like for us. I mean, wanted
he was
him
for a long. Yeah, he was for a long time. But now in the AHL, you have Joel Hofer and this one Russian goalie who has a gnarly name. Hang on, I gotta find it now. Like, we have really good goaltending depth. Like,
yeah, and that's something that's very important in NHL. Is like that's something that the Blues have that a lot of teams don't. Which is
so
even though Bennington has underperformed, he's still solid enough to be your starter through like. You just would hope for better. And I bet if you had better defensemen, I bet that can hide a lot of Bennington's low points.
But we haven't seen a full defensive core yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen it.
It's so hard to see. And just to quickly touch on the goaltending depth so that we can wrap up this whole Blues talk was just the fact that Joel Hofer is signed for the next 2 years to come up to the NHL because he's in that contract. He's been really good in the AHL. Behind him is Colton Ellis, who's the goalie I'm really high on. He broke I forget the name of the league, Quebec Major Junior League records, which is a big deal in Canada. And then they have this Russian goalie who came out of nowhere. You ready to hear this name? His name is Vadim Zerenko. Zherenko.
Dude sounds like a tank. How tall is he and what's like his weight?
Oh, that's a good point. Hang on.
Yeah.
I think I can find that.
6'7", 450. He's like a goddamn Russian bear.
Oh no, he's 21 years old. He was born March 15th, 2001, and he is 6'2", and 172 pounds. He was
Damn.
a 7th round draft pick, 208th overall.
My God.
Damn. Is he doing good at AHL though?
Yeah, like I never heard of the guy until recently, but in the AHL, his numbers are crazy. He has played 14 games. He has a 2.89 goals against average and a .921 save percentage, which is really good.
That is pretty good.
He made it deep in the KHL. I know that's MHL. They have a bunch of random leagues over in
How
Russia.
many HLs are there?
At least 27. I don't know.
I was gonna say.
So
That could be another. That could be an episode for
To
another
cut-
day, just going through that league.
yeah, to kind of wrap up the Blues recap though, it's just you have like what I would like to see, like what would you guys like to see? Because like for me, I would like to see the Blues just get healthy at this point because it's too late to tank. Obviously, you only have like 20 something games left. So get your defensive core healthy, see what you have, and then if it works, so you make playoffs, then great. But I think that's just what you have to do. I mean, there's not much more you can do.
It sounds like that they're like they need to, like you said, evaluate their injuries. You only have 20 games left. It's to the point where it's like, okay, a lot of our players are getting injured. A lot of things need moved around. Let's sit back, evaluate, and see if we make the playoffs. Great, cool, whatever. But I think it's time to like sit back, evaluate, and see what you can add or do better to, bring back possibly to get you guys back into 2019 form. You know what I mean?
Nothing will be 2019.
That's
nothing.
True. Well, somewhat.
That was the
close,
most incredible playoff run I have seen in sports history. That was unbelievable.
I was at the game after they fired Mike Yeo. I was at Mike Yeo's last game. It was against LA, and they lost 3-0. And I remember driving home and getting that news. And at the time, we were thinking that we wanted to hire a really good NHL coach, a guy named Joel Quenneville, who coached the Blues in the early 2000s, who was really good. Like, got us the President's Trophy, I think, and everything, which is like #1 in the league and all that crap in like the regular season. But we went with Craig Berube, and the rest is history.
So yeah, but so what would you like to see?
What would I like to see? I would like the Blues to prove to Doug Armstrong that they want to win this year. That way, it gives Doug and like our GM an understanding of what he has to go and get. And in a perfect world, I see a trade. I don't see it. I would like to see a trade where we go after Bo Horvat. I've been on this guy constantly. He's in Vancouver. He's their captain. So you do a captain for captain swap because O'Reilly doesn't have any trade clause or anything that stops the trade from going through. You can just trade him straight up. You can make a trade with Vancouver to get Bo Horvat and I would say next year's first round and a prospect, as in like Zachary Bolduc or Jimmy Snuggerud, who did really well at World Juniors.
Snuggerud?
Yeah, dude, it's a gnarly name. He's an American.
That's his
player.
actual name?
Jimmy Snuggerud. It's like something like that.
Wait, Snuggerud?
Let me spell it out real quick. It's a gnarly name. I love it.
Is it Snuggerud or Snuggerug?
It could be Snuggerud too.
Oh, damn.
Oh, I thought you said Snuggerug, like as snug as a bug as a rug. You know what I mean? That's what I thought you said.
Hang on, let me make sure.
That's wild. What a name.
It's a gnarly name. I like it. I gotta look it up this way. Another person to look out for is Matthew Kessel with the Blues on the defensive end. He's been pretty good. Same with Tyler Tucker. That's been a surprise.
I like Tyler Tucker too. He's fun to watch.
Like,
He just got in a fight yesterday, didn't he? Was that him?
No, that was Ivan Barbashev.
Oh, that was Barbashev.
They had what's called the Gordie Howe hat trick, where you get a goal, an assist, and a fight. It is Jimmy Snuggerud. SUSNU.
Snug as a bug in a rug.
RUD. Yeah. But anyways, no, just like the team has to prove to Doug that they want to win and they want to go all out for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that, then go for it. Trade anything and everything. If you think if the team proves to Doug, then I trust Doug. He's been at this job for 10 plus years, I think now. So go for it.
Yeah. So moving on from Blues, I do have some Cardinal stuff I want to talk about. It was just reported by Jeff Jones yesterday that the Bally Sports Midwest is close to getting a final decision on the new play-by-play, replacing Dan McLaughlin. And one of the finalists is Aaron Goldsmith, which just reported today that he's actually considered the front runner for the job, which if you don't know who that is, he is the Seattle Mariners play-by-play on the radio and on TV at home games sometimes. He's electric.
The Brewers.
No, it's the Mariners.
Oh.
The Brewers have Brian Anderson. I don't want him. He's the guy on TBS on playoff games. But anyway, Aaron Goldsmith, he is electric to hear call games. I mean, if you want to just kind of see like what it feels like to have him, there's this tweet by Hunter Ives. It's at Ives Baseball at STL on Twitter. He put a video of he like took out the audio from the Cardinals home run clips and just put the Goldsmith clips over it, and it's awesome. That's great work because it's like literally synced perfectly. So yeah, he's just electric. He's a great guy to have to replace Dan McLaughlin. He's younger. He's from St. Louis. He's 39 years old. He'll be here for a while if he does come here. And I mean, it would be amazing to see someone like him come, just because you don't really have anyone that'd be that electric. And he is probably the most electric like announcer that you could possibly get right now.
And it's that having an announcer that good, like with brother, brings the energy for like any sport. It makes it so
good
better to watch, because I know that, like, just for example, I have my own hatred for certain announcers. Like last night.
Yeah, the Chiefs game. You told me about
Chris
that.
Collinsworth is the worst NFL analyst announcer to ever walk the face of the earth. He would get on hands and knees for Patrick Mahomes right in front of him. No pants, nothing.
That video you sent me was funny.
I get, like, you know, I'm sure it's happened in the MLB, NHL. Players deserve the respect like that they want. You know, I understand Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. Or when it comes to like watching the Astros games, you know, they've been a powerhouse in the MLB for years.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you can't change the way you announce games just because you're announcing somebody who's possibly like a Hall of Famer or a legend. You know what I mean? You can't. That's
why they don't let what's that guy, the Yankees announcer? He was the announcer for the wild card game last year. It's Michael Kay. That's who it was. That's who they was thinking of. He's the Yankees. He's the main Yankees announcer. And it's just weird. It was so weird hearing that call with Yepez's home run where he's like, "See ya." It was so weird. I'm so used to hearing that over like Yankees calls. It was kind of cool, but I'm not that big of a fan of it because that broadcast was Michael Kay and Alex Rodriguez on a Cardinal and Philly game. They're all Yankee guys, and they're broadcasting a Cardinal and Philly game in the Midwest.
If you ever get bored and you're following The Athletic, they actually ranked all the announcers in the NHL. And luckily, St. Louis has John Kelly and Darren Payne, some of the best too.
Darren Payne annoys me sometimes. He kind of does.
Holy jumping!
I mean, he's not. He's just some of the like. It's not him personally. It's just like sometimes like the whole like little phrases that he does, they just kind of get on my nerves a little bit. But
there used to be, I don't know if
I like John Kelly.
This is when I was really into the NHL back when I was a kid. There used to be a radio announcer for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he was amazing to listen to over the radio, dude. It was wild. Like Sidney Crosby would like score like it would be like, I think it was when we were playing Bruins, and this was like I think this was 2016 or something. I can't remember. But this is like the peak of Pittsburgh sports, like for hockey. And this was like a close battle. I think it was a playoff game, and it was like 3-3 with like no time left in regulation. And all of a sudden, Sidney Crosby just goes down and gets his hat trick and scores. And all of a sudden, he goes, "Scratch my back with a hacksaw. The Pittsburgh Penguins have won the game." Like, no way. Like, this dude is awesome.
Yeah, I gotta find out who that is.
Dude, another good Penguins call was Sidney Crosby it was whenever they first introduced the shootout. He's coming down, and I think it was against Montreal, and he scores. And like, I forget who the announcer was. I don't know if it was like national or in Pittsburgh. He goes, "Welcome to the Sidney Crosby Show, Canada." And I was like, what a call.
Another thing about the Cardinals I want to talk about, but did you find a name?
No, that's not him. Well, I gotta find it. He's old, dude. I think he might be retired.
But the one thing also is Pablo Lopez is off the market. I mentioned his name last episode of possibly being traded here, even though he was not going to be a number one starter. And I just want to say something. These fans out here who are complaining about not making moves right now for Pablo Lopez, I mean, come on. You are looking at a guy who has done terrible in the second half in his career. He's not been good. His velocity has gone down. His K rate has been declining the last 3 years. You are wanting a number one starter. I get it. I want one too. Unfortunately, there's not one out there that we know is available for trade. And if you think Pablo Lopez is a number one starter, you have no idea what you're talking about at all. You have no idea. Solid. You are he's a 2 or 3. And honestly, you want to hear something even crazier? Last year, who had the same exact WAR as him, 7.4? You know who had the exact same WAR? Adam Wainwright had the exact same WAR as Pablo Lopez last year. So, if you consider Adam Wainwright if you think Pablo Lopez is number one, then you think Adam Wainwright's a number one. That's basically what you're saying to me, because and just other numbers too. Like, yeah, his K rate has been good, but honestly, realistically, I just don't think he was the best fit, and you're gonna have to overpay a lot for him, especially when you don't need to. You don't need to trade these young guys right now. I'd much rather you go into the spring, go into the season. You have no competition in the division. See what you have with these young guys and let them play it out.
Competition in the division.
No, the Pirates are not coming. They're not coming at all.
Touch is back in the bird.
But you have no competition in the division.
I like the start of your rant. It's like you talking to like a kid. Like, all right, listen here. Papa Brennan's going to tell you what we got to do here.
So, but anyway, you look at everything and it's just like, why wait? Why even rush to get this? Like, go wait until the deadline and just see what you have. Evaluate at the deadline. How's Jack Flaherty doing? How's Miles doing? How's Wainwright
Montgomery going to do this year?
How's Montgomery going to do?
That is a big thing that we didn't even touch on last episode on pitching depth.
I think he will be fine. I mean, again, he's not a number one guy, but you have a lot. I know a lot of people are going to probably not agree with me. I think you have enough depth. Is it good depth? No. But is it depth to get you through, get you innings, and give you a chance to win? I think so. I think
respectfully disagree.
You do?
I really do. I think you should have gone for another pitcher this offseason instead of just.
I agree. You should have gone for another one, but why go and get a guy like Pablo Lopez who is going to be the exact same of what you have in your rotation right now, which is what we complain about. We have too much of number 3s and 2s. I'd say barely 2. I would say the only 2 is probably Michaelis at this point. But you look at everything, the rest of them are 3s and 4s.
So basically, you want quality over quality.
I want quality. I want a number one guy. Now, Jack Flaherty can't be that guy, and I hope he is, because I love watching Jack Flaherty pitch. But I think you needed another guy to put with Flaherty. I would have loved Rodon, but Rodon probably it's been reported he wanted to be a Yankee. So let's say that Mo even tried to go after him. Let's say he did. There was no guarantee that he would have actually signed because he wanted to be a Yankee. And that's something that a lot of these fans don't understand, is it's more than just money to some of these players. Like, look at Goldsmith, for example. He took less money than what he probably should have to sign with the Cardinals long term after that trade happened.
Yeah.
So it's more than just money. Some of these players just want the money. They want the bag. Some of them want a mixture of both, where they have comfortability with their family and they have they know where they're going to be and they are comfortable where that is. You know what I mean? That's why there's no trade clauses set up. That's why there's stuff like that, because a lot of these players just want to stay where they sign. They don't want to move all the time. and they want to be with somewhere where they're comfortable. And Rodon felt that he would be comfortable in New York, so that's where he decided to sign. Because I think there was plenty of teams out there that would have offered more for Rodon than what he got with the Yankees, in my opinion, even though he's a Boris client. So, I mean, you can get a number one. I think they will. I think there will be a massive trade at the deadline for a top of the line rotation piece. If they don't, then Mo should be fired, because there is no excuse for you not to do any sort of big trade when you have the amount of prospects that you have. And none of these guys can play all the time. You have an outfield that's overfilled with Jordan Walker coming. You are going to have to move one of them, because Jordan Walker is going to be your starter. He is going to be one of your starting corners. Now, who replaces that? Is Dylan Carlson going to be moved and Lars Nootbaar goes to center? Is Tyler O'Neill not bounced back and he gets moved out somewhere? I mean, it's hard to tell. And then even with that,
I was gonna say, even if you do move O'Neill, like, are you gonna get the right needs that you want with how?
You're probably not gonna get what you need, because he doesn't have as much control. I mean, you could probably get I can see a trade similar to the Bader trading if you're gonna trade O'Neill, but I'm not gonna trade O'Neill right now. Some people want to. He just in 2021 he just came off of an amazing year, and you want to trade him already. And that's people like Nolan Gorman. This time last year, people were praying for Nolan Gorman to make the roster. They wanted him to be on this team. And now they're like, oh, he's overrated. Oh, he's a bust. And it's like, you didn't even give him a chance. He was on pace to hit 30 home runs, and he was a rookie. Yeah, he struggled through his second half, but his profile as a player is going to have slumps. But what he can do when he's hot is ridiculous. He can hit you 30 to 40 home runs a season easily. That's his player type. He's a left-handed power bat, which is actually going out of style in the new age of baseball.
I love lefties though. Lefty.
Yeah, and and if you look at Nolan Gorman's swing, have you compared it to anybody? You know who it reminds me of?
I remember we had this conversation a long time ago.
It looks just like Bryce Harper's swing.
Yes,
it's like exactly the same. It's actually kind of insane. And it's like, will he be Bryce Harper? God, no. I don't think that. That would be amazing if he is, but I don't think he will. Bryce Harper's a generational talent. But Nolan Gorman's going to be a solid piece for you. Will he be good on the defensively? Probably not. But he could be your lefty DH that is feared and be in the middle part of your lineup. I mean, if all these guys go right, this team might not need pitching, because they'll just score 10 runs. And the scores will be like 10-8. And we'll win. That's how it'll go, because we can't hold runs back.
Just average a fucking this 10-point game.
This offense this year, always. I'm telling you, this offense this year, if everything goes right, it can be the best offense in the MLB. And I have no doubt in my mind that that's possible, because this team is ridiculously stacked offensively. You have Arenado, Goldschmidt at the corners. You have Wilson Contreras now. You have Tyler O'Neill who could bounce back. You have Dylan Carlson. You have I said Tyler O'Neill. You have Lars Nootbaar coming up. You have Gorman still. You have Yepez. You have Donovan on your bench. Dude,
I'm so high on Donovan.
Oh, Donovan is awesome.
Love that guy. I love the way he battles.
He's amazing to watch. The way he just battles in the box is awesome to see. And he just plays everywhere. He's like the perfect player to have on your team.
That's why you won utility.
Yeah. And then you got Alec Burleson on your bench. He might start DH for some people. And you have Gorman and Yepez to rotate a bench role as DH probably. Like that, these guys would be starting in your lineup for most teams. Like maybe not like Braves or anything, but like if you look at like a team that you might be competing for, like the Brewers, all of your bench guys would be starters for the Brewers. All of them. Cubs, same way. So like you have this depth of position players. There's just no excuse for you not to go out and get someone, because you can't play all of them. And I didn't even mention Jordan Walker yet. Do that whole depth. I didn't even mention that, because he's not even confirmed he's going to be on the team yet, which I'm so excited to see spring start. Pitchers and catchers report on the 14th. We're going to have a special guest on that day, by the way. I haven't told you guys that, but
I know. I was like, who?
Yeah, I'll have someone on here to talk the Cardinal prospects and everything. He's really knowledgeable. So we'll go ahead and That'll probably be around before spring training starts, like the episode before.
It's actually
So-
Brendan's dad.
No, he doesn't know anything about prospects at all.
It's just
He
Katie. That's
asked
all it
me.
is.
He asked
Yeah,
me.
it's
He's
actually
like,
Katie.
yeah, it's Katie. Yeah, Katie's gonna talk to us about Gordon Graceffo and how his slider has improved over the last year. Yeah,
It might be like Moneyball. If you
it could be Katie Wu. You never know.
Ooh, that'd be. I know for a fact it's not, but that'd be really cool.
No, that'd be really cool if we could have Katie Wu on here. But
Could it be Kurt Warner?
no, Kurt Warner.
So Kurt, what can you tell us about the depth?
It's
going
Paul
forward?
DeYoung. Paul DeYoung is telling us what we're going to do this season.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh,
Paul
you
DeYoung-
could
oh,
just-
that's
so
another
you could just
thing.
Scream at him.
That's another
Okay.
thing. Paul DeYoung has changed his swing, according to Andrew Kisner and himself
Ooh.
at the winter warm-up. No idea what that
Did
means.
he go through that one? Yeah, did he go through that one thing too with
Drive line?
Goldschmidt? No, the Goldschmidt thing that you were telling me about with the bats and stuff, getting the right.
Well, he
bat
got
or
that at
whatever.
drive line.
Oh, okay.
So drive line, that's where Arenado and Newbar have been. This
Right,
pretty
right.
much this whole offseason. There's a whole bunch of videos going out about him. I don't think Paul DeYoung's done that at all. I don't think he's done that. But it's just like I don't understand like what they're going to do with him. I mean, he's not a bad defensive replacement guy. If you need a backup shortstop, he's not the worst option you could possibly have because at least he could play a sound shortstop position. It's just his bat. Like we know what he could do on the field, but his bat is terrible, and hopefully it improves.
I got a quick question for Sean.
What's up?
So I don't know if you saw it, but it just happened. I saw it like 10 minutes ago, or 17 minutes ago actually, and something else just popped up. How is it? Does this happen a lot where NHL coaches get fired and they hire another coach the same day?
Adam, you shouldn't have started this conversation with me.
Because the Canucks just fired.
God,
Bruce
dude,
Boudreau,
I know.
And then
So-
they hired Rick Touche.
It's his name is Rick Tocchet. It's spelled weird. Yeah.
It's Touche.
Is it just? But are they actually hiring him as the main
No,
coach, or is it just like an
dude, this-
interim?
No,
This
he's
whole
hired-
he's hired as a head coach. This whole
Why?
situation in Vancouver has been an absolute dumpster fire.
'Cause,
God,
like,
I'm-
I've never heard of that. I've never heard
So-
of anybody firing their head coach.
We'll
and
have to go.
not, like,
Yeah,
waiting.
we'll
You
have
know
to
what
go
I mean?
along with this, just because this is such a like.
We
such
can
a
talk
hard
about it
topic.
next episode if you want.
Yeah,
No,
it's
because
kinda
this
wild.
since this
Okay.
news just came through, we have to go through
Okay.
it real quick.
That's
so
we
fine.
gotta let it marinate.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
So Vancouver, they have so as I said earlier, I want Bo Horvat. He's their captain and stuff, and he's a great centerman. And Vancouver has a second centerman in JT Miller. This guy is the most arrogant player I've ever seen on the ice. There are so many videos of him just being pissed off at the team for not performing. And Vancouver extends him over their own captain. This guy makes $8.25 million in JT Miller, and his defensive numbers are trash. Sure, he gets some points for the team, but they're just not doing anything. And there's a video of him yelling at his goalie to get to the bench and slamming at the back of the net so that way they can go for an empty netter and try and get down the ice and score. And it led to nothing. It became 30 seconds of him wasting time yelling at the goalie. And the management level and ownership at Vancouver is just absolutely trash. Jeremy Rutherford, or no, not Jeremy. Jeremy Rutherford's the dude for the Blues, right?
Yes,
It's the other guy.
he's
Jim
the
Rutherford.
athletic guy.
Yeah. Jim Rutherford, who used to be the GM for the Pittsburgh Penguins, he goes to Vancouver thinking he can fix this team and do everything. And it's just, they haven't done anything. They've made all of these terrible trades and haven't gone forward with anything. They pay Tyler Myers way too much money, and he's at the same level of Robert Bortuzzo of a defenseman. And it's just such bad. And they have great players too in Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, Quinn Hughes, and even Luke Shen, Braden Shen's brother. And they have great goalies. They beat us in playoffs in 2020. So they were projected to go up. But then they just absolutely fell out the bottom. No one's responding to the coach who got fired, Bruce Boudreau. He's a great coach who's coached Minnesota, Washington, and led them to those are great teams led by him. And the fan base accepted Bruce Boudreau so well after they fired the other guy, Travis. I think his name is Travis Green, and they did well last year, going forward and all that, to the point where the fans made a chant of Bruce, there it is, Bruce, there it is. Like, they really hyped this guy up so much. And then they proceeded to, like, not let him go for this season. They offered him a contract extension, even though they told him, hey, you're not the coach that we want, but here's the money. We still need you going forward to coach this team. And he's like, well, I'm not the guy. And he's like, don't care, coach the team. You're not my first choice, though. I wanted Rick Tocchet. I don't want you in this building, but you still need to coach this team. That's like, imagine your boss saying that to you. Hey, you're not my first choice to do this job, but you're here anyway, so go ahead and do it for me. Like, that's so degrading. And the fans, like, fighting back with management and the players of saying, no, you guys messed this up for not keeping him around. And, like, the videos that have come out over these last 2 games, like, Bruce Boudreau is, like, reaching that point of NHL national treasure for how genuinely happy he is to be in the game. Like, the last game, like, he got emotional talking about, like, what it meant to be an NHL coach. Do you know how amazing that is? Like, I would love that. I would run through a wall for someone who is willing to dedicate that much time to, like, and heart to pouring into a team, and then to get shit canned for Rick Tocchet, who was a part of the 2016-2017 Cup runs for Pittsburgh as well. But he was only an assistant coach, and then he goes to Arizona and doesn't do anything with them. Like, it's so disheartening to see, and it sucks to see Bruce Boudreau get fired for this.
You were talking about, like, running through a wall. That's how I feel like for the Detroit Lions coach Dan Campbell. I'd literally run through, like, a bank, like a whole ass bank for that dude.
Yeah, it's a good coach goes so far. And I don't, like, I know, like, with baseball you have managers, like, and you have Ollie and stuff. It's just like, God, I feel so bad for Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah.
I can't express it enough.
I mean, that was kind of like with the whole Mike Schilt thing. People were talking about how, like, people were shocked that he was fired. I wasn't. He was terrible. I'm not going to get into that. I hated Mike Schilt. We'll get into. That's why he's not managing at any level at all right now. He is
like a bench coach or something, or a hitting coach.
No,
somewhere?
he was like a scout for the Padres right now, I think.
Oh, nice.
And I think now he's working for the MLB. I don't know. He was awful. He ruined Giovanni Gallegos and Genesis Cabrera. And that's why we don't have a competent bullpen right now. And also for the Cardinals, one last move I want you to make. Go sign what's that guy's name? Andrew Chafin. Go sign Andrew Chafin, please. I want that fro and mustache here in the Lou. Please.
Absolutely.
I want him badly. He's a good lefty out of the pen. That's the last thing I need from you.
Just to put it in comparison, by the way, of how much Brendan hates Schilt, I would, like, he would send me this thing. Like, anytime the Cardinals would lose, I'd always just send a message.
Fought our tails off.
Yeah, we really fought our tails off. We're gonna do really well next time, though. I swear, the team's got it. We don't need them numbers.
We're not getting enough credit for beating the Marlins. That's what he said.
Miami.
I cannot believe he said that. So stupid. But anyway, well, that concludes the second episode of this week for Behind the Lou. But I do want to give us an announcement that we're going to be doing for spring trading. We're going to be giving away a Nolan Arenado blue jersey. So, yeah. So if you are interested in that, make sure you check our socials at Behind the Lou _ on Twitter and on Instagram. We will be announcing that what the qualifications are probably within the next couple weeks. So once we get that going, that's just something to keep an eye out for. So we'll be back next week. But again, make sure you follow all our socials for any sort of information that you might want about like the podcast or any sort of news regarding the Blues or Cardinals. We will cover everything there. And
if you want to see some great montages, go to Brendan's page. And if you want to also follow up on any hockey stuff, I usually retweet it from mine.
Yeah, so I'll have all our socials in the description here, and so make sure you subscribe as well. In case you haven't, just make sure you don't miss any episode at all. Like I said, we're gonna upload every Sunday. That's our goal. So going forward, you can expect us to release episodes every Sunday regarding whatever's the talking points are that week. So we're just excited for the Cardinals to get going, and we're also just hoping that the Blues figure out what they're going to do because I have no idea how to
Blues.
answer that question.
Go on another like 7-game winning streak.
That'd be great.
And then just go 500 for the rest of the
Just
year. I'd be
please
fine
beat
with that.
Buffalo on Tuesday. That's all I ask.
Tage Thompson is gonna go and get a hat.
Tage Thompson will score 5 goals.
He's gonna go
in like
past
5
Berube.
minutes.
Yeah, he's gonna go past Berube and Doug Armstrong at the press box and just flip him off for trading him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take the cup, but man, I wish I had him on this team. But anyway, that concludes it. So we'll see you guys next week.